Imagine, it's been 30 days since you've had intimacy with another person. Your body is still functioning. Your heart is beating. Your lungs are breathing. But you feel something different. It's not a disease, it's not magic. It's pure biology. The question is something real happening to your body if you don't have intimacy for a month? Or is it just a myth fueled by popular culture? The moment of intimacy and passion with another person is one of the oldest and most misunderstood topics in human history. For centuries, pleasure, desire, and abstinence have been approached from a moral or religious perspective, but rarely from a scientific perspective. Today, neurobiology, endocrinology, and psychology allow us to look under the microscope at what was previously only intuition. And spoiler alert, your body can tell the difference. Before we get into abstinence, let's understand what happens during a passionate, intimate relationship. Every euphoric act with your partner triggers an impressive chain of chemical reactions. The brain releases dopamine, the pleasure neurotransmitter. Oxytocin strengthens the emotional bond, and the body produces endorphins, the natural painkillers that make you feel relaxed and happy. In other words, passionate acts engage not only the organs, but also emotions, memory, and motivation. Think of your brain as a laboratory whose lights turn on when something gives you satisfaction. During sex, the entire laboratory lights up. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins, they all work together. When you decide not to have one, the lights dim, they don't turn off completely, but the lab goes into energy-saving mode. The first few days without intimacy with your partner aren't dramatic. Your body is an efficient machine and accustomed to adapting to change. But hormones, like everything in biology, respond to balance. In men, testosterone levels can fluctuate slightly. A study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior in 2003 found that after a week of abstinence, testosterone levels increased slightly and then stabilized. In women, the fluctuations are more complex as they depend on the menstrual cycle. However, a lack of passionate activity can disrupt the production of estrogen and progesterone, affecting mood and well-being. Your brain is wired to seek pleasure and connection. In the absence of intimacy, it seeks natural substitutes, a greater appetite, a heightened need for social interaction, and increased attention to erotic stimuli. It's your brain saying, hey, it's been a while since we've activated the pleasure circuit. Everything's fine in there. Contrary to what some people think, not having sex for a month doesn't make you sick or damage your body. Your body doesn't explode, accumulate toxins, or shut down. Sexual desire doesn't disappear. It redistributes itself. In fact, numerous studies on monks, athletes, and celibates show that the body can function perfectly well without sex for extended periods. The change isn't about physical health, but about emotional and hormonal regulation. Your body goes into a kind of sleep mode. It's not turned off, just paused, like a computer that's on but not using its full potential. Until then, the body continues to function normally. But the brain, that chemical command center, begins to adapt. Because if there's one thing the brain hates, it's a change in its reward habits. Remember that sex activates dopamine, the molecule that drives us to seek pleasure and motivation. Without passionate activity, dopamine doesn't disappear, but its flow is reorganized. You begin to feel less spontaneous sexual desire. Or conversely, your mind seeks alternative stimuli to maintain the same level of satisfaction. A 2014 study from the University of California showed that people who cut back on their intimate activities for a while tend to focus that energy on other areas: physical exercise, creative work, or personal goals. In short, your brain redirects pleasure energy toward other, more tangible rewards. Many people report feeling more physically and mentally energized after several days of abstinence. This isn't spiritual magic, but pure physiology. Less dopamine is expended on immediate pleasure, more availability for concentration, physical activity, or creativity. A 2017 study by the American Psychological Society, APA, found that temporary abstinence can improve cognitive focus and reduce impulsivity, not because sex is bad, but because the brain no longer alternates between desire and reward constantly. Think of your brain as a programmer using its energy for various tasks. When it doesn't have to devote resources to sexual desire, it redirects its processor to other projects, learning, creating, improving its performance. But be careful. If the brain doesn't find a healthy outlet, this same energy can turn into anxiety. While some people feel calmer, others experience the opposite: increased irritability, sleep disturbances, and more frequent distractions. This occurs because passionate acts or masturbation release endorphins and oxytocin, hormones that reduce the stress hormone cortisol. Without these peaks, the nervous system can become slightly more tense. Between the 20th and 30th day, your body has already adapted. Your hormone levels have stabilized, your biological rhythms have normalized, and sexual desire, although latent, no longer dominates your attention. But then an unexpected protagonist enters the picture: your mind. Yes, paradoxically, the more time passes, the more present the subject becomes. A 2018 study from the University of Florence found that prolonged abstinence tends to increase the frequency of sexual thoughts. This doesn't mean despair. It's simply the brain trying to maintain its dopamine balance. It's as if your mind is saying, "We haven't had any interesting activities, but what if we remember what it was like during that time?" Strange changes can also occur. In men, nighttime testosterone levels can increase slightly, generating erotic dreams or spontaneous ejaculations called nocturnal pollutions. In women, bodily sensitivity may increase because hormone receptors remain active. In both cases, the body is demonstrating that sexuality is a natural biological function, not an immediate need. Imagine your brain like that of a DJ who can't play music but still hums along to his favorite tracks. This is what happens between the 20th and 30th day. The brain memorizes the rhythms of pleasure, even when the body is silent. By the 30th day, the result varies depending on the individual. Some feel more focused, calm, and in control. Others report feeling more anxious or irritable. Both of these states are normal, as the body and mind react differently to changing stimuli. The key is to understand that not having sex for a month doesn't harm your physical health, but it can alter your emotional, hormonal, and psychological balance. After 30 days without passionate activity with your partner, your body and mind aren't in crisis, but they have changed. What seems like a simple break is actually a process of chemical readjustment that reveals human beings' ability to adapt. First, more self-control and mental clarity. Several studies, such as one published in Frontiers in Psychology in 2019, show that temporarily abstaining from intense gratifications like intimacy or pornography strengthens brain circuits associated with self-control. In other words, your brain learns to postpone rewards and not rely too much on immediate pleasure. It can improve your ability to concentrate, study, train, or plan. Second, it increases motivation. Sexual desire doesn't disappear. It transforms into mental energy. This same energy, previously focused on physical pleasure, can now be redirected by the brain toward personal or creative goals. This is why many artists, athletes, and abstinent monks describe periods of high productivity. Of course, it's not magic. It's neurochemistry. Less dopamine invested in immediate pleasure, more dopamine available for long-term motivation. Third, strengthening the emotional bond. In a relationship, the temporary absence of intimacy can, in some cases, strengthen the emotional bond between partners. Repressed desire fuels physical reunions, and communication becomes more important. A 2015 University of Chicago study found that couples who experience brief periods of abstinence tend to experience greater satisfaction when they reconnect with intimacy. Think of a bow before you shoot an arrow. The more you contract it, the more strength it accumulates. Abstinence works the same way. Desire doesn't disappear. It stretches, accumulates, and transforms into energy. So far, we've seen the positive side. But like any chemical reaction, there is a downside. First, increased stress and irritability. Sexual intercourse or masturbation acts as a natural stress regulator. During orgasm, oxytocin and endorphins are released, calming the mind and reducing cortisol levels. Without this natural outlet, some people may experience increased anxiety, mood swings, and difficulty falling asleep. This isn't an addiction. It's simply biological. The body is trying to release tension. 2. Changes in mood and self-esteem. Lack of intimacy can also affect self-image and emotional connections. Not having sex doesn't mean you're sick. But if abstinence isn't chosen, for example, due to loneliness or personal conflicts, the brain may associate it with frustration or low self-esteem. In fact, a 2018 study published in the Journal of Health Psychology found a correlation between a prolonged lack of physical contact and a decreased sense of overall well-being. 3. The key, balance, not extremes. The science is clear, being intimate with your partner is healthy. Going without it for a while can be beneficial too. The key is balance and understanding your body's reactions. The intensity of your intimacy doesn't define your worth, your energy, or your health. What matters is your ability to remain in emotional and physical harmony. Human sexuality works like a pendulum. If you push it too far, through excess or prolonged abstinence, the body seeks to return to center. And it is at this center that the mind, hormones, and emotions harmonize. So what happens if you haven't had sex for 30 days? Nothing catastrophic, but nothing trivial either. Your body is readjusting, your brain is rewiring itself, and your mind is learning a lesson in self-control. Desire and balance. Passionate sex isn't just about pleasure. It's about communication, chemistry, emotion, and biology working in perfect harmony. And understanding it from a scientific perspective makes us realize that human desire is not a whim, but one of the most powerful forces in the universe. If you were surprised by what science reveals about a subject as mundane as sex with your partner, wait until you see what we have in store for you in the next episode. So, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell, because curiosity is not a trap. It makes you wiser. No, not at all.